Hey everyone. So tonight we want to kind of talk a little bit about the what if young people find it hard. So hey everyone, welcome to our YouTube live stream tonight. Now, tonight I just want to talk a little bit about something really interesting. I think it's a topic that many people have been asking about, people have been thinking about. It's about helping the young generation. And I think this is something very, very useful for us to consider. So, if you're new to our channel, just say hi, and I will welcome you to our channel at Coaching Changes Live. So, just do remember to hit the subscribe button to stay tuned with all the latest updates that we have for you. Now, so this evening, I want to talk a little bit about what if young people find it hard to talk to their parents, counselors. Now, where does coaching come in? And what's the impact of coaching and what can coaching do for the young generation? I think that's something that's really important for us. So I came across this article. I think it's just written today on the 15th of August. And I thought, what better way to do than to call this series the Deep Inner Work Coaching Series, where I bring real life discussions to the ground, and for us to have a little discussion and talk through about why this matters to you and why this matters to us. If you are a coach, if you are a youth worker, and if you are a counselor, psychologist, psychiatrist, mentor, teacher, instructor, professor, I think this is an important topic to discuss as well. Right, so here at Coaching Changes Lives, we have a whole series of things that we do to support people from all across the ages, whether you're a youth, children, you're young working adults, or maybe an executive, a business professional, or you're running businesses as well. We have coaches and we train coaches all around the world through the accreditation process to really help them become better coaches. So I want to talk a little bit about the deep inner work coaching, and especially about what if young people find it hard to talk to parents or counselors, right? So I'm going to break down the discussion, and hopefully you guys can join me in this discussion tonight. Okay, let's take a look at this. Now, this I came across in Chinese News Asia, I think by one of the writers over there, Nicholas Gabriel Lim. He has a commentary on what if young people find it hard to talk to parents or counselors. What should they do? Well, there are moves to strengthen the support system for students facing mental health challenges, but a keen understanding of how their search for help can go a long way, says an adolescent psychologist. So it's really interesting, right? So I think I want to kind of break this down and how is it relevant to us if you are a counselor. Hi Gopalan. Chat with me on our YouTube live as well. Say hi if you're here and let me know your thoughts. We're going to have a little discussion about this topic about what young people find hard to talk to counselors, and should young people go to counselors or coaches, and what are the challenges as well, right? So if you're tuning in this live right now, give a shout out and say hi. I would love to greet all of us. Let me just reply. Hi. Screen in darkness. Oh, that's interesting. Cannot see me. Well, I think you should be able to see now if you are watching this in the live stream. I'm sharing a screen share right now, so hopefully you can see. Okay, so what I've just done here is, if you're watching this live stream, I was just talking a little bit about what if young people find it hard. Okay, so let's take a look at this and see if you guys can watch this. So I'm going to read to you the article, and I think this article has such an amazing in-depth stuff. So I'm just going to discuss. Hi, Annie, right? And let's talk a little bit about this interesting topic as well. Okay, so it says here, Singapore. In light of the recent Rio Valley High School case, the Education Minister Chan Chun Sing pushed for enhanced training in mental health literacy and deployment of more teacher counselors. Well welcomed, there's an elephant in the room whether young people who face mental health challenges will indeed open up to teacher counselors. Now, that itself, this part here, I'm always for more help, for support for our students. But when the role of teachers and counselors kind of blur, my thought is this, right? That they should not be blurred. Why? Because when the students see us as teachers, okay, and when they're facing something on the inside of them, they cannot separate you from the teacher versus you from the counselor, right? Whereas the counselor is really like a safe space for them. Now, even the idea of counselors as well, there is a social stigma around counseling, where it's negative, it's, something's wrong with you, that's why you go to counselor. I think more needs to be done in counselor. In fact, we should Openly talk about it. Every single assembly period, talk about counseling. Make counseling accessible. In fact, at the assembly hall, have a counseling booth. Make people feel that counseling is something that it's okay, right? Nothing wrong about it. If the counseling room in the school it's at one corner, right, people would think that okay, it's first the environmental factors, and second it's like okay, I'm bringing you to one corner, one little level of the school where the counselor is. So either you have done something wrong or something something's wrong with you, and you go to the counselor. So that is my thought about counselors. I think schools need to reposition counselors at the forefront. Let it be known to the students, let it be known to people, let it feel, let the students, let the teachers, let the people and the public know that, hey, there's nothing wrong with counseling. How do we do that? Well, by positioning counseling booths at the front, at the forefront of the school. Have posters all around the school, right? Talk about bullying. Have posters talking around. Have open conversations every time, right? Because we need to build a culture where people and young people can open up about it. Now, the idea of teacher counselors. Now, firstly, teachers are really overworked in the Singapore education system. And I think, hi Josephine. Yeah, the teachers overwork in Singapore school, so it's really, really not an ideal situation where we kind of get teachers to double hat, triple hat, and quadruple hat. It's just way too much for teachers. I think what must happen is that MOE or the education minister have to start looking at coaches, engaging a series of coaches who are external to the school, coming into the school to really support that. Now, I'll share with you guys some of my ideas why. Now, let's read on and see this, right? In an ideal world, kids would turn to their parents for support when they encounter difficulties. However, in my experience working with young people, some don't or can't for a variety of reasons. Some parents and their children have differing views, like when the child chooses to be in a relationship or friends with someone their family disapproves of, and this evolve. Frayed nerves can deepen. Notice this. Frayed nerves can deepen. All parents become worried when certain behaviors become concerning, and problems can arise when concerns are not communicated sensitively, discerningly, or effectively. As a result, the child simply ceases reaching out for fear of judgment and rejection. Now, it's no surprise when instead of trying to see things from their perspective, parents can react negatively. I've dealt with cases where some teens resort to violence in retaliation. In one case, a parent tried to stop their child from sending text messages in the wee hours of the night daily by cutting off the wireless network in the house. Now, guess what happened? The teenager, already struggling through the relationship, acted out poorly by damaging household furniture in anger, and parents may feel cutting off internet access is a small matter, but for the young person, it's everything, right? It's dramatic, it's unreasonable move. Talking things through could have paved the way for a compromise. Now, of course, not all parents deal with their children's mental health challenges or experience them in these extreme ways. There are those that simply do not know what to do, how to react, thinking these are temporary feelings that will go away with time. I've heard parents say it's just a phase, there's no need to talk about it anymore, let's let it go. Now, that's where I think coaching comes in really, really well, right? So coaching is such an important element in even in parenting, in families, in youth, in the education system. I think the MOE needs to really seriously talk to me, right? Talk to me about how we can integrate coaching into the whole school system. Counselors, we really need to reshape counseling. Counseling down through the many decades have its help, have its aid, but there's still a very strong anchoring stigma to the idea of counseling, and a lot of counselors are again pushing their thoughts on the students, pushing the ideas, pushing the know-hows. And if you read the reports recently about how students have experienced counselors, they have shared the truth. Okay, so we want to hear what's really happening on ground. We don't want to hear what's the nice on reports. We want to hear how the students are really feeling about counseling in the real school. And in fact, there are many reports that goes around showing that students feel a real strong stigma, that feel that the counselors are just imposing ideas and thoughts to them. And I think that's when the pivot has to happen, where coaching has to come in. Okay, so if you're here joining us live stream right now, say hi everyone. Hi Annie, hi Gopal, and hi Josephine. Hello everyone. Okay, so we're just in the discussion of talking about what if young people find it hard to talk to parents. If you're here joining us live, drop a chat down below and let me know what are some thoughts that you have as well around this topic. Yeah. yeah, I truly believe that what parents need to engage coaches to come in, and just being a friend to the young people. Yeah. So let's take a look at what this says anymore, right? Can teacher counselors be objective? My answer, straightforward to it, is no. It's impossible for teacher counselors to be objective. Why? Because teachers, they are both in the taking on the head of teaching, plus they have a relationship with the students already. Now this relationship cannot be separated from a counseling role, right? And when although yes, I may be able to switch hats between counseling and teaching, but the student cannot see me in two different hats. So as such, the students will know that I'm still the teacher. And can you imagine the back of my mind? I review everything to this teacher. I'm not sure whether the teacher would have told the HOD or would have told the vice principal or the principal, or will the news spread to all the teachers. You see, that's the fear that many people have in meeting a counselor or teacher, right? And how much more the young people are vulnerable. And I think we need to give them a safe space. We need to have external coaches. We need to have external agencies come in to support in an ecosystem, right? It's not just the teachers. Can you imagine the teacher's main function is really about teaching? It's not about counseling. I think as a para counselor, it's okay, right? Teachers can be para counselors, but they should not take on teacher counselors. It sounds fanciful on books, it sounds fanciful on paper and policy, but it doesn't work at all. All right. What we're going to do here is you're going to overwork the teachers, and you're going to be less effective in the school premise. Now, again, this is the honest truth to all the government agencies out there. I've been there. If we were to write something beautiful, we could always carve the real story, right? This case of what has happened, it's not just an overnight situation, but I think it's very, very important that we take serious action and look into it. Right. So now, in a recent CNA Insider story, students interviewed voiced concerns about relying on counselors. Now, look at this. This is something really interesting. I hope you guys get a chance to read. Hey, hi, Annie. Right. Especially those can be dismissive. Look at this. And brush aside concerns students might have or have poor communication skills, leaving students more confused than ever before. So this is the research that CNA did, and really interesting, right? In fact, most of you who knew counselors, or if you have met with counselors, I think you would have experienced that yourself, and I think this is something very, very interesting for us to consider. Do check out the story if you have time. I would just pop by to take a look as well. Now, the story separately highlighted the conflict teacher counselors might have in working with students in school. For one, the duty of psychological care requires a relationship of trust between equals and a focus on the client's well-being. This is relationship of trust between equals. That's the beauty of coaching. This is where coaching comes in, not counseling, not teacher counselors. Let's give the teachers a break. Let's allow the teachers to be great at what they're doing, teaching. Remove away administration, remove away all the other roles that they need to do. Let them focus on teaching, right? Teachers must be great at teaching. Let them focus on that. Now, you see this psychological care, the duty of psychological care requires a relationship of trust between equals and focus on clients' well-being. We have so many people out there in Singapore who have a passion and heart. I think we need to invest. The Ministry of Education needs to invest in coaching or invest in external counselors, external coaches, external psychologists, at least in the 1 to 500 ratio or 1 to 250 ratio per cohort in the school. Now, to me, even if 1 to 20, 250, it's way too much, right? My idea is that have at least 1 to 30, or 1 to 50, 1 to 100, 1 to 100, yeah, maybe 1 to 100 coach for every school. Now, how do we calculate that? Now, suppose you have 8 hours a day, right? Each student takes 1 hour. At the very max, one coach could take up a maximum of 100 hours. We need to space the time for the coach as well. So suppose a day you spend 4 hours with 4 individual students, and every student, this is what must happen in school. Every single student who comes into school must attend a coaching session with an external coach to talk about anything about life, about relationships, about the journey. And every single month, the child or the student must have access to the external coaches. I think that's so important, right? To reduce the stigma of counseling, to reduce the stigma of this culture of negativity towards counseling and help, I think every school system must have at least the students and allowing the students to get encounters with the coach or a counselor once a month, right? Once a month at least. So once a month, you probably need a team of 50, 100 to 50, 10 to 50, 25 to 50 coach counselors in the schools. Okay, you need at least an amount. So I think Mr. Chun Singh really needs to speak to me, and I hope I can speak to him as well. We really need to get this implemented in schools really urgently as well. Yeah, Josephine says, agree, coaching allows our young people to think for themselves in a safe space. Yeah, see, the idea of the young people don't want to be, told what to do. They know that they are in a space, in a situation, in the growth phase of maturity, and the last thing they want to hear is people telling them, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this. Even as adults, would you like people telling you what you should do, what you should not do? I think what must be happening is this one. Trust is based on equals. Seeing us as equals, not me as the counselor, you as the counselee or the client. When that happens, it builds a barrier. Yeah. So when an educator has an hierarchical relationship, notice this, with the priority being the child's academic progress, whereas the counselor priority is the social emotional well-being. See, the counselor's priority is social economy counseling as well. Yeah, exactly. I think we as coaches need to go out there, tell MOE, tell the school's education system, we need coaching booths in every single school. Every single month, every single day, there must be a coach in school talking to every single student. Every life matters. To me, every single life in school matters. Have the teachers, have the principals really taken care of every single student? Not students as a number, but students as an individual life, knowing them by their name, knowing what they like, right? If you have a class of 40 students, it's impossible to have quality time with each one of them. In fact, the form teachers don't even know the students that well. They know roughly their characters because of how they behave in school, but do they really know them, right? So that's the big challenge that I have for the education ministry, to really have a major rethink, not just making policies up there, but really coming down on ground, removing all that barriers and hierarchies, really peering in, understanding what's really happening on ground, right? So notice this. For that reason, what reason is this? For that reason, teacher counselor reason, teachers are trained to be proficient in instruction, whereas counselors' skills are empathetic listening, close observation, conversation. Now, people can be competent at both, but it can be challenging to swap hats and remain even-handed. There is also the question of confidentiality. Would students' confession be taken as a lack of resilience of academic or academic capability and seep into their grading for participation in class through staff room gossip? This is so critical. I've seen it happening again and again and again. What one student told in confidence to a teacher, the teacher went on to tell the HOD went on to tell the VP went on to tell the P. And in the end, everyone knows about the situation. It's an embarrassment to the entire system, right? I remember myself going into schools as well. When I was a student in school, I was struggling one of the subjects, and the embarrassment that my subject teacher spread in front of everyone in school really gave me a lower sense of confidence in the particular subject. It was a terrible shame, right? They gathered everyone in the hall and pointed out to me and said, okay, because of me, the whole school suffered the total grading system, right? So that itself, this stuff from gossip happens all the time. So this is something really important for us to consider, whether this will work or not. So I have a sense that the ministry is kind of a reactionary force rather than a proactive force. The result of what we see today, it's not because of something that happened just in a few months or a few years ago. It's the result of a systemic error or systemic issue that is existingly in our policies. We really need to have a serious relook about the practicality and practicableness of the systems. Now look at this. Worse, when counselors are class teachers, students may fear that conversations in confidence would be discussed with parents. That is the reason why I feel that this teacher counselor idea, it's totally the person who thought of it is really either naive or has never had serious education in the field of counseling, psychotherapy, psychology, or even coaching, right? Doesn't understand the social skills, social sciences of it. I urge the Ministry of Education to really study the pedagogical needs of students, pedagogical, sociological, anthropological needs of every single student. Yeah. Now, the pandemic has also made online counseling intrusive in small homes where families spend 24/7 time together. A range of service providers has sprung up to this, right? And I think they said several items there. Now, despite the popularity of online counseling, my own experience is that some youths find it hard to log on in private and they worry about text messages being read. Can peer support help? If not parents or counselors, where does that leave the troubled youth? Good friends can form a type of non-judgmental support group. They provide security, a sense of belonging that comes from being a community going through similar experiences. Puberty and the onset of adolescence can be a physically and emotionally confusing time. Neurological studies also show why youth seek out personal affirmation from people who get them during this period. In teens, the emotional center of the brain in the limbic system that processes fear and anxiety matures earlier than the prefrontal cortex, responsible for impulse control and emotional regulation. This leaves the emotional centers in the brain on their own for a while. This is critical piece of information. I've been teaching coaching for such a long time. I've been helping coaches around the world and be telling them this is so important. This is really, really important, right? And the number one thing is this: we're not trying to correct their thoughts. It's not about rational thoughts. At this age, because of the neuroscience, they need something else. They need a different way of approach in terms of coaching, in terms of counseling, in terms of handling them. Because right now they're driven mainly by their emotional center of the brain. Nothing wrong with that. And the last thing you want to tell the youth is that you are being emotional, right? That's the last thing you want to tell the youth. Yeah, so that's so important. Now, in other words, teenagers will have a tendency to think about issues and judge situations mostly by how they feel. They are less inhibited and tend to experience heightened emotions. So, Gopalan says, this is where non-judgmental space. I totally agree with you. It's so important, right? So important that non-judgmental space must be here for the people, right? And especially for the young people. And if Celeste is one of the children's and youth coach as well, I think it's so critical. I think I hope Chuan Chun Sing will tune into our live stream here because it's such an important topic as well, right? So would the education ministry consider doing away with PSLE or implement later start times? So there's this little podcast recently. I'll talk about this in the next episode as well. This is so important. Now, on one hand, having a community of friends can be a boon. For many, deep loyalty and a sense that they have to protect their friends provide safe harbor for teenagers to share their woes and find release. But when professional help is lacking and something serious happens, like a friend attempts suicide, teenagers can feel lost, confused, shocked, and saddened. And youths can also be ill-equipped to make sense of troubling situations. Yeah, and without the steady, trained hands of a mental health practitioner, youths in crisis can have troubling navigating situations that challenge the beliefs and values a young person's brain is developing, and they are still learning. This is my word for all parents, for young people, counselors, educators, teachers, ministers out there. Do not try to correct the symptoms. These are symptoms. We need to get to the root. The root is this: do not wait until the child is facing this, mental health or mental wellness situation, then step in. That's why I say it. Every single month, every single child in every single school needs to have a private session with a coach in the school. Allow a culture of coaching, allow a culture of counseling where it's not it's not like a stigma. Allow that to be a place where it's commonplace. It's okay to talk to a counselor, right? If every single month, every single child has an hour with a coach, has an hour with the counselor, in private, in the school, now, we would be able to reduce this. Why? Because we are addressing and helping them navigate through this very important period of the time, helping them navigate their beliefs and values, having someone to talk to, having someone as an equal to talk to. I think that's such a critical factor. If we have to wait until when they face with mental health challenges, that's a bit too late. We need to start earlier. We need to start much earlier. In primary school, in secondary school, in tertiary education, we need that to come in at the early onset. I think that's so important, right? So this person goes on to say, I can recall seeing a client's social media post saying he was contemplating suicide because of an incident Earlier in school, it was clear that his friends were trying to talk him out of it. He shared with me how he finds it hard to deal with criticism. But through our session, we arrived at coping strategies and helped him develop a new perspective to harsh comments. This is an opportunity for schools to train young people to learn how to talk to each other positively, to listen with perspective, and discern to seek out an adult for help. And peers can also learn to offer trust, parent, caregiver, and adult to their friend in need of crisis, and jointly continue the conversations together. This is the important part. Jointly continue This is coaching. Coaching is about partnering the client through a creative and thought-provoking process to inspire change and maximize jointly, right? And I love this idea. Now, notice this. I'm very sad that we're still talking about this. This has been around for decades. If you read literatures, research papers, every single generation, this has come in play. We have been saying this again and again and again and again and again. Why is there nothing done? Or seemingly not effective measures being done or policies being done? Why are we so afraid to step out there to really take the next step forward? And I think parents have spent too much money into tuition classes and too little on coaching sessions for their child. In fact, this is what I told one parent recently. I said, hey, if you could take once a week, just once a week, spend some money and investment into your child with a coach to talk about the child's life, to talk about the child's belief, values, nothing about academics, just talking about life, talking about matters, what matters to the heart. Because they have no one to talk to, right? Parents at the age, they probably be busy doing their work, but engage a coach, pay a coach, right? And in fact, many parents pay hundreds and thousands of dollars for tuition teachers to train their academic, but nothing and not much about helping the young people in the stages of the life. I think that's so critical, right? So understanding a little of brain biology can help us realize we need to prioritize fostering a positive emotional climate around our children. Our prefrontal cortex is only fully developed around the age of 25, while the limbic system is fully developed about the age when puberty sets in. There is a 10-year window where the brain is going through rapid changes and where a fight or flight type emotions can dominate. The youths are susceptible to stress and anxiety. The fight or flight is the amygdala, right? That's in the part of the brain there. And we cover this also in Mastering Coaching. For those of you who have now joined us in Mastering Coaching, there is a neuroscience, neuropsychology component which is so critical. Even in our advanced ACTP class as well, we cover some of this there. And I've been saying that the coaches really need to go deeper in this to really be practitioners, not just professors of things, but practitioners of things. And a little bit of help and guidance can go a long way. When young people do turn to us as caring young adults, it would help if we took their limbic thoughts seriously. Now, to do this, we need to be curious, open, willing to explore new options and ideas. Being open means suspending your preconceptions. When a young person shares something personal, what you say to them is very important. Listen to why they think in a certain way. They can go a long way. What they are looking for, or very often, isn't a fixed set of solutions, but someone to talk to. Someone to talk to. Yeah. So I love that this commentary was done and posted on CNA, and I think more and more of such discussions need to be conducted around the world, right? Whether it's on Clubhouse, whether it's on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, I think, or even a YouTube live stream, we need to talk more about the wellness of our young people, the next generation. And I think this is a serious topic that we really need to go deeper. Now, what do you think as coaches? I think one of the important elements as coaches that we can kind of do is that as coaches, we have something really, really powerful, which is this sense that we're not trying to impose our ideas, we're not trying to impose our thoughts, we are equals. We're entering the conversations as partners with the client through a creative and thought-provoking process to really inspire the change. Taking time, listening, empathetic resonance, taking time to do reflective inquiry, taking time to really evoke awareness from within the client. Notice every single core competencies matter to the young people. Now, if you like me to kind of break down, and I spent about 10 over years working with young people before actually going and pivoting my coaching career towards more of an adult and business and also executives as well. So spending more than 10 years working with young people, youths and children, and I've met a whole range of them, from suicidal tendencies to bully cases, cyberbullying, to youth kind of lost in their life, trying to navigate through the miry crossroads, even family relationships as well. I think this is such an important and precious topic that we really need to discuss, right? Let me know in the comment section below. Just tell me, what other topics would you like to hear on, and perhaps in the next round when we're doing this live on YouTube, we could have a little more discussions, and to hear your thoughts as well for all of us who are just joining us live. And I think we have some of us here. Anyone have any questions so far? Do post them. I can see them. Josephine says this: coaching can help students, parents, teacher alike. It's a win-win-win. Trophy, hands up. Muscle, yes. Building the inner man and everything outside will come into place. So important. Yeah, building that inner person, the inner well-being of an individual, it's critical so that that individual can grow and become someone that will be able to produce something sustainable in the long run, right? I think that is such a critical factor as well. Okay, great. Now, what better way to end a Sunday and to begin a new week than to talk about something that really enriches the heart and spirit? And I love talking about this all the time. So do stay tuned. I think we're going to make some mini episodes and series on this, on the deep inner work coaching. What really is deep inner work coaching? And we're going to use some real life examples like this to really have a little discussion with our friends from both locally in Singapore as well as around the world, and for those of you tuning out there, right? So if you like this episode, do consider sharing, tagging a friend into this channel. And until next time, this is Jedi at Coaching Changes Lives. I'll see you guys really soon at one of our events, and have a wonderful Sunday ahead.